AITA for telling my husband's aunt I am not responsible for raising his half-siblings? My husband was told 3 months ago that his father, who he was estranged from, and his father's wife, had passed away in an accident, and he had been listed as the person to become guardian to their 2 young children. My husband had no idea his father had done this. He never actually met those children. He was estranged from his father by the time the older of the 2 was born. Though he did know the older child existed, my husband told the person who called that he was not willing to become their guardian. The person understood, and what ended up happening is my husband's aunt took the kids. This is his father's sister. She wants my husband to take them still. She has reached out countless times to convince him to meet the kids and form a relationship and see if he could build up to wanting them. He has no interest in this. After my husband blocked her and stopped responding completely, she decided to show up at the house while I was working. She told me we needed to talk and proceeded to tell me I could decide we are taking them and I could be the person to make the first step. She told me they were just as much my responsibility as my ILs, as they are my husband's, and that they are children who are orphaned and don't need the family history being the reason they never know their brother. The family history is my husband's mother died when he was 17. His father was having an affair while she was sick. The affair partner became his wife. My husband never forgave him and left before he turned 18 and before their oldest child could be born. I told the aunt I had no responsibility to raise the kids, that I was not going to raise them if my husband wasn't interested. I told her if she doesn't want them she should say so, but she should not try to force them into a home where they are unwanted and unloved. I told her it's tragic for the kids, but they are not my children. She called me heartless and told me that as a woman I should be ashamed to be married to someone who would discard flesh and blood children over the actions of adults. I made her leave. I had to then block her on my work phone because she attempted to reach me there to tell me once again that I am this bad person. AITA? NTA. Their dad was out of his mind putting your husband down as the guardian in case anything happens. If you're not talking and haven't in years, then it follows that they're not going to want to take in kids that they've never met. NTA. But, husband's aunt, you are also a woman. NTA. If the aunt is so concerned, then she can raise them herself. NTA. The aunt should take her own advice. NTA. The dad was an arsehole for doing this and not even having a discussion via lawyers with your son. What an awful man. The aunt is no better, and you should never be forced into caring for children as it doesn't work. You are not the arsehole, because I think if your husband would want them you would support them. It is also his right to choose to not want these children. Yes, I feel for them. They are innocent in all of this, but going to a home to a person who doesn't want them is not good for anyone. NTA. Bringing children into a home where they are not wanted and loved is not doing them any favors. He didn't even know he was set to care for these children. He did not consent to it, so he is not responsible. It is not your responsibility or choice either. This is his trauma. As his wife and partner, you should support his decision, as you are. NTA. It's heartbreaking for the kids, and yes, they're innocent in all of this, but no one should be forced to take in kids that are not their responsibility. NTA. This heartless woman who is actively trying to discard flesh and blood by shaming other people for doing exactly the same is disgusting. NTA. I hate how PPL like his aunt are all like. Think of the children. Yeah? Well, I'm thinking I have zero affection for them and do not want to raise them. Kids will pick up on both, and as they're grieving, it's the last thing they need. Good on Op for telling her no and pointing that out. Sucks that they've been put in that position, but I'm hoping the kids are at least out of earshot. While the aunt is hounding them by naming his son as guardian. Your Phil was just continuing the incredibly selfish way he apparently lived his life. Your NTAs for saying no to taking in the kids. NTA. It might be worth having a lawyer send her a cease and desist letter. Then, if necessary, file for harassment, if she continues. NTA. You don't list guardians of your children without getting their permission first. Nor do you attempt to pawn off other people's children on people who are not interested in raising them. NTA. You should have repeated everything she said back to her. Why is she harassing you? These kids are not your flesh and blood. But it's hers. Sad that the kids got orphaned, but you are making the right choice. You do not want these kids. And they come with a whole lot of painful memories for your husband. It will be very difficult for you guys to create a nurturing environment for them when you know that you do not want them. It might create more trauma, as well as they're bound to realize that one way or the other. NTA. The same could easily be said about her. How heartless of you to not want to keep in your own flesh and blood. INTA. Just because the dad wrote it doesn't mean you have to honor it. Funny how you can't abandon flesh and blood, but that's exactly what she's trying to do. INTA. The kids are already going through enough. The last thing they need is to be traumatized even more by being a home they know they are unwanted and unloved. NTA. You and your husband haven't done anything wrong. You should only have had to say no once, and that should have been the end of the discussion. NTA. It is a tragic situation, but that doesn't obligate your husband to take in two total strangers and take on full responsibility for them. The estranged father was an idiot to even think this was a good idea. And the aunt is delusional to think it is a good idea to attempt to guilt someone into taking in and raising these children. NTA. Funny thing is, shouldn't she be ashamed of her brother who discarded his own flesh and blood and the woman he promised to love and cherish for another person? She's got some nerve. NTA. The aunt is being a hypocrite. If it was about your husband forming a relationship with his siblings, she wouldn't be demanding you take them in. I feel for the kids. It's clear their aunt doesn't want them, and they must be very hurt. They aren't to blame for any of this after all. But you are 100% in the right here. If she keeps harassing you, call the cops.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.